What's going on? Austin Zabak here with another video, and I'm going to show you how you can make anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 by Christmas. It's not illegal. It's not that complicated. You don't have to go to school. You don't need a college degree. You don't need really any knowledge or experience of any particular industry to be able to do it. And you've maybe already heard of it before, but I want to break it down in layman's terms. Easy to understand, so you know exactly what to do, what to take action on immediately to go out and to get your first wholesale deal. So if you're brand new to my channel, I actually have wholesaled right around about 1,500 wholesale deals in my life, okay? I'm also a real estate agent and I've flipped some properties as well, and I'm actually currently working on building a rental portfolio. Wholesaling was actually the thing that I got into when I first got into real estate, okay? It was the thing that initially kind of caught my attention. I looked at it and I was like, man, I can do that, right? Because, you know, for me, I didn't have a lot of money, right? I didn't have great credit. I didn't have any real estate experience. So growing up, I always thought that you needed a lot of money to get into real estate. You needed great credit. You needed a bunch of connections. You needed to understand how to renovate a property. And I never realized that I actually didn't need any of that at all to go ahead and actually wholesale real estate until I was about 18 years old. And that is when I actually wholesaled my first ever deal. At the time, I actually was not a licensed real estate agent either, okay? So if you're watching the video and you're not a licensed real estate agent, I know there's a lot of controversy out there, but to make it very clear, you do not need to be a licensed real estate agent to wholesale a piece of real estate. So for me, it was really the perfect barrier of entry getting into the world of real estate because I knew that eventually I wanted to do more in the world of real estate, but you know, I needed to get my feet wet, right? I needed to really learn. I needed to get involved to really kind of move the needle or move the ball down the field to eventually get to a place where I could develop the connections, you know, make the money, build my credit, and really everything that goes along with that in order to kind of do the big boy things, I guess you could say, in the real estate industry. So by now, if you're not familiar with what wholesaling is, let's just go ahead and clear that up, okay? It's extremely simple. Wholesaling real estate, you're never actually buying any real estate, okay? To be very clear, I just want to get that out of the way. You're not actually buying any real estate, okay? What you are doing, in fact, though, is you are actually acting initially as the buyer. You're going to a potential seller and you're getting a property under contract as the principal, right? As the buyer, okay? You're typically acquiring these properties below market value. And then what you're doing is you're essentially kind of a matchmaker, okay? You then take that contract that you have with the seller and you turn around and you basically flip the contract to an end buyer, okay? So all you're really doing is you're moving paperwork around. So let's just break that down in case you're a little bit confused, okay? So I go and I talk to a seller, okay? And for whatever reason, the seller needs to sell. Maybe they're in some sort of distressed situation, right? Maybe they're getting a divorce. Maybe they inherited the property. Maybe the property needs a bunch of work. Maybe somebody passed away. You never really know why a seller or a homeowner might actually need to sell. And for whatever reason, they don't want to list the property with a real estate agent on what they call the MLS, okay? The MLS is the multiple listing service, and that is what real estate agents have access to. And if you list a property with a real estate agent, that is where they're going to list it for sale. It's like a Craigslist or an OfferUp for real estate agents, essentially, right? And that's where the majority of real estate gets sold. But there's a lot of sellers out there in the world that don't end up selling their property with a real estate agent, okay? So in this scenario, you would actually go and you would talk directly to a seller, ideally, and you would get the property below market value. And let's just assume that for the sake of the conversation, the reason you got it below market value was because it needed a lot of work, okay? And the seller, the homeowner, doesn't want to actually put the work into the property. So let's just say that you get the property for $100,000. $100,000. But when it's all fixed up and nice and beautiful and everything like that, it'll eventually be worth $200,000. So you're buying it about $100,000 below market value of what you would consider to be the ARV. And the ARV essentially is just a term that real estate investors use, and it stands for the after repair value, okay? So you're buying it for 100, okay, but you're not actually buying it. It's worth 200 after repair value. There's about 100 grand there, okay? But let's just assume that it only needs like 30 or 40 grand worth of repairs or renovations. You turn around and you find a buyer for that purchase contract that you have with the seller for, let's just say, $120,000, okay? You just made $20,000 without ever buying the property. Essentially what happens is you step out of the deal, okay? Because remember, you were initially the buyer, but now you're stepping out of the deal. The new buyer is stepping into your shoes, essentially. They're actually assuming that initial contract that you had with the seller, all of the liability that comes along with that, and everything of the sort, and they're now buying it for $120,000. The seller is still gonna make their $100,000 that they initially planned on making, so it's a total win for them, and you're making $20,000, which you could call it an assignment fee, or you could call it like a finder's fee, and the buyer is still extremely happy because he's still buying a property that'll be worth $200,000 for $120,000. And he didn't have to do any marketing or anything like that to actually go and find the property. You essentially brought it to him on a silver platter. And who doesn't want, like what investor, what flipper doesn't want a property brought to them on a silver platter? So in that scenario, everybody's winning, okay? It is a win, win, win. So to dive in really quick on how you can actually get your first wholesale deal, okay, in 30 days or less, okay, how you could potentially make anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 in 30 days or less. There's a couple of different ways to go about it. We obviously just talked about going direct to seller, and that is, in my humble opinion, one of the best ways to get a deal, okay, to find a deal. Because if you think about wholesaling, it's very simple. I mean, the main thing that you have to focus on is finding the deal. Now, obviously, you eventually have to find the buyer for the deal, but you want to keep this in mind. If you have a good deal, the buyer will always come, okay? I think a lot of people focus on finding the buyer when in all reality, if you walk around with a good deal, okay, and you raise it up and you say, I got a good deal, right? On Facebook or on Instagram or wherever, the buyer will come, okay? Buyers are constantly looking for good deals, especially in the type of market that we're in right now. So you wanna make it your entire life's mission over the next couple of weeks to just go ahead and find a deal if you're brand new. Again, there are other ways to get deals, right? You can get a deal from another wholesaler, you can get a deal from a real estate agent. There are other ways to get deals as opposed to going direct to seller. But in this video, I'm just gonna talk about direct to seller because I do believe it is probably the most profitable and the quickest way to get a potential deal. There's a couple of ways that I actually use every single day in my own personal wholesaling business to get direct to seller deals. Now again, I told you a little while ago, we've wholesaled probably in my career well over 1,500 houses, and I would say on average, I still actively wholesale about 30 houses a month, okay? I even virtually wholesale in other states as well, which is another conversation for another day. But trust me, that is a lot of fun also because you can travel the world. Well, I don't really know how much traveling you can do right now, but you can travel the world and you can actually wholesale real estate without ever actually having to be in that particular market. So with direct to seller, all you really have to do is you've got to get in front of them somehow. Now, there's a couple of ways that I like to do it. I'm gonna link a couple of the things that I use every single day right here on the screen and also down in the description below. One of my favorite ways is doing what they call driving for dollars. And you can use an app like I linked right here or down below, but basically you can just go drive around and you can look for distressed properties. And when you find a property that looks run down, you can then skip trace the information of the homeowner homeowner, which basically just means get their contact information, and you can then call them or send them a little postcard, like I'm sure you've all seen, right? A postcard that says, hey, I'll buy your house, okay? Or you can go ahead and send them a text message, or if you have a lot of courage, then you can actually go knock on their door and have a conversation with them. Now, that's personally one of my favorite ways to getting your first deal, okay? I believe that more people should do the basics. There's a lot of people right now that preach texting and hiring a bunch of cold callers and doing direct mail and putting out bandit signs and doing Google pay-per-click and everything you can imagine. And all of that it's actually great, okay? It's all amazing. And we do a lot of that ourselves. But I would just say if you're newer and you're just trying to get a deal, you're just trying to make like 10 or 20 or 30 grand, then keep it simple, right? Don't overcomplicate it. I think a lot of people, they overcomplicate this business. They overcomplicate life in general. Now, if you're a bit more advanced, then sure, you can do pay-per-click. You can get a bunch of cold callers. Heck, I've got an entire cold calling operation. If you want me to hook you up with cold callers that are the best in the industry, shoot me a DM or drop in the comment section below. But again, those are a bit more advanced strategies when you have a little bit of money to work with. And a lot of times in the very beginning, you don't have a ton of money to work with, right? Which is why you're maybe watching the video because, you just want to make, 10 or 20 or $30,000 before maybe, let's just say Christmas. So look, go ahead and download that app down below if I were you, or you can do it without the app. Either way, it doesn't really matter. I don't personally care, but go and find distressed properties, okay? Knock on their door, give them a call, shoot them a text, say, hey, I'm looking to buy your property, right? I'm a cash buyer, I'm looking to buy your property, right? Have conversations with people. When you're out and about, I'm actually wearing a shirt right now that on the back of my shirt actually says that we buy houses, okay? I meet people at the gym, I meet people at the grocery store, I meet people when I'm out and about, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, you buy houses? I'm like, yeah, I buy houses. They're like, okay, well, we have a house we're looking to sell on 123 Main Street, okay? So, and then I just have a conversation with them and I say, great, why are you moving? What's kind of the reason that you're looking to sell, right? How much money are you looking to get, okay? So you just start having these conversations and one thing will lead to the next. And before you know it, you're gonna have a deal under contract below market value. You're gonna be able to sell that deal to an end investor and you're gonna be able to make a decent amount of money. So just remember the main thing is getting the deal, right? Once you have the deal, the buyers will come. Now, I'm happy to make more videos if you actually did really enjoy the video. I really believe in the bottom of my heart, if you're still watching the video, that you can absolutely make like 10 or 20 or 30 grand before Christmas, okay? I know depending on when I post this video, there's only maybe a couple of months until Christmas, but I really believe that you can 100% do that if you put in the work and if you take action, okay? It really is a very, very simple business model to understand. If you have any questions on like where to find the buyer, what contract to use, right? Like what title company to use, do you have to get like an attorney? What about earnest money? Like there's all this stuff that, you might have questions on, but again, like don't worry about any of that. Everybody wants to overcomplicate it. It's not that complicated, okay? You can do $10 for earnest money. You can do $100 for earnest money. You don't have to do a lot of money, right? You can find a title company once you get the deal under contract, right? You can find a buyer once you get the deal under contract, okay? So just understand, and by the way, I'm buying properties nationwide. So if you're watching the video still, like I might be your buyer, okay? Like I want to buy your deal. So if you're getting good deals below market value, hit me up. I'm your buyer, okay? Definitely reach out to me. Comment on the video, like the video, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm if you're still watching, obviously. And I really hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you go out there and you do this, especially if you're brand new. I really believe it could potentially be one of the best side hustles, in my humble opinion, that could become a full-time hustle, okay, if you want it to, or if you do it right, very, very quickly, okay? So I really believe that. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I would really appreciate it if you would do so. And if you haven't liked the video, I'd appreciate it if you did that. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.